Hi everyone, Danny here. So I'm accompanied by none other than the great Alex the Prodigy once again. And today we're going to teach you guys how to properly hold these things, the focus mitts. Now I'm not going to go into the particular brands or the quality of them. Maybe that's going to be for a future video. But today is going to be a basic video on how to properly hold the mitts for your training partners. Ready, Alex?
Yes.
Let's get going. So the first thing I'd like to talk about is teach you guys how to properly hold the focus mitts for your training partners. And we're going to start with one of the most common mistakes that I see very frequently is people hold the mitts way too wide, such as this, okay? So they'll call for a jab and a cross, and they'll start holding their mitts in this fashion, okay? And that's the wrong way of holding the pads for your partner. So if I start and I hold the pads such as this, and Alex goes left on this side and then right on that side, that kind of be like if Alex was fighting two persons, okay? And that's the wrong way of doing that. So what we want to do is always make sure that our pads are closer to each other. All right, always in this fashion, so left and right, and not like this, okay? So if I hold for Alex, the jab will be here, and then cross on this side, all right? So one more time, 1, 2, perfect, okay? So that's the first common mistake is people hold way too wide where they should be a lot closer to each other, okay? So that's the first step. The second common mistake that I see a lot of times is people holding at the wrong height, okay? So for example, so the rule of thumb is always holding your pads exactly at the same height as your own head. Okay, so if I'm training with someone who's 6 foot tall, I don't want to reach out and have it to their own height. I want them to hit me, because the fact of the reality is they're going to be fighting someone about my size, for example, and they're going to have to adjust their punches. And the same goes through with someone who's a little bit shorter. They need to adjust their punches with a little bit more height. The only exception to this rule would be, for example, if I'm training with Alex, he's way younger than I am, so I'll kind of adapt a little bit more to kind of like adjust the height for him. Or if one of my fighters is training for a Muay Thai fight or MMA fight, and we know specifically that his opponent's either taller or shorter, or even as a southpaw, I'll adjust the range, the height, as well as the stance for my fighter, okay? But the rule of thumb is always holding your pads at the same height as your own face, okay? So if we're here, once again, for Alex, I'll adjust slightly, but I'd be here, right? So jab cross, and jab cross. Okay, so for him, I'll adjust to his height. But keep in mind, when you're training, generally, you want to have your pads at the same height. Next up, where people go wrong with their pads is not only are they too wide sometimes, or too high or too low, is they forget to kind of like push their pads to meet their partner's force, okay? So if Alex throws a left straight, I don't want to have my pad and keep it there. I kind of want to meet him halfway, or even a quarter of the way, okay? So if he throws his left straight, I kind of like push to give him that impact. And the same thing for his right cross, give him that impact, okay? Now, careful guys not to over-exaggerate and pushing the pad and not having your partner extend his punches. So what I mean by this is when he throws his right cross, I kind of meet him here. So I have him extend his elbow and enough range so he can turn his shoulder. Exactly. So jab cross. Very nice. Okay. Now, the same thing goes when you're going to throw hooks and uppercuts. Okay. Very too common do I see people just holding their pad like this and then having a left hook thrown and the pad just flies away. Okay. Same thing for uppercuts. They'll hold here and the pad just will fly away. That will cause two things that are really not good. The first thing, you'll hyperextend your partner's elbows or shoulders, and that will cause injury. And the second is yourself as the trainer or the pad holder also risks the fact that you're going to hyperextend your elbow or your shoulder. We don't want that, okay? So what we want to do, if he's going to throw the right uppercut, I want to kind of meet him in with some force of my pad, right? Right to here. And the same thing for the left hook. And one more time. Good. Now, when you're holding for left hooks, it's very common for people to hold like this, and you'll also see it like this, okay? So which way is best is really a question of preference for one, but mainly it'll be to adapt to your fighter's punching techniques. So what I mean by this is if Alex throws his left hook and keeps his fist vertical, like this, okay? Now, I'll want to meet the force vertically as well, okay? So if we turn this way slightly, vertical means vertical pad. If he's gonna be throwing it horizontally like this, that means the thumb towards his face, palm towards the ground, I'll wanna meet it like this. And that will tend to a proper catch of your partner's punches. So once again, left hook or left hook. Okay, left hook or left hook. When you hold for body shots, there are two methods that I prefer holding like, okay? So the first one, if he's gonna throw a body shot to my rib cage with his right hand, the target will be here. So it doesn't make sense for you to hold a pad here, okay? You don't have a great angle. So the best thing to do is reverse your hand and place your knuckles onto your rib cage like this. And that'll give him the exact target to throw his body shot, okay? So this works really well when you start to combine it, for example, off a lead jab. So jab and body shot, jab and body shot. And now the other method is just placing the other mitt underneath your armpit like this. Okay, so one more time on the body shot. Very good, one more. And last one. Okay, so for example, if I throw a lead jab and body shot, lead jab and body shot. All right, that brings me to my last point, range. Range is so important in fighting, in combat sports, whether it's Thai boxing, boxing, or mixed martial arts. It's super, super important to understand range. And the focus pads are one of the main tools to give your fighters the sense of range. If not, if I'd only be static, that would be like a moving heavy bag. And we already have heavy bags. That'd be solo training. So in order to have some efficiency in our workouts, we want to make sure as a good pad holder that you make your fighter understand range. So one example of good range is if that's the extension of his jab, I don't want to have him meet his cross right here. Okay? That would be here and here. That's two different targets. Okay? So his jab will be at this distance and the same distance will be for the cross. Okay? One more time, jab, cross. Okay? As opposed to jab and cross. Okay? Now, a lot of people argue that the head would be moving, and that's correct. But when you hold pads, you're not really mimicking the head movement of your opponent. You're really mimicking how your fighter is going to create distance and range to make punches flow into combinations. And when we're talking about Muay Thai specifically, then there's the addition of elbows, knees, as well as longer weapons such as kicks. So, when we talk about this stuff, one of the things I want to focus on is when Alex throws his jab and then throws the body shot, he needs to step in to throw that right to the body and then step back out. Okay, one more time, slowly, jab and body shot here. So notice that's the exact sense of distance where my chin would be and where the body shot would be. Okay, so he needs to step into the right body shot. So I don't want to have him jab here and then body shot right here. We talked about sideways body shots, but there are also straight punches to the stomach, all right? So if he's throwing a straight left, okay, a lot of times we'll be holding this Muay Thai belly pad, so that gives that perfect target for straight punches to the body, straight knees, as well as teeps. But if I'm working his hands and I only have the focus mitts on, what I'd want to do is signal the same side pad for the punch. So in this case, this is the jab, and this is the cross. Now, if I hold my pad to my stomach area, this will be his left jab to the belly and right cross to the belly, okay? Obviously, he's going to be hitting the backside of your hand, in this case, my knuckles, and the pad will rest firmly against my stomach. So once again, bam. And the same thing if he goes 1, 2, pop, pop. Or if you're more efficient with it and you know your training partner's style, you can just go 1, 2, pop, pop. Okay? One more detail, guys. There's so many tips, so many tricks to become a great pad holder that we can make a dozen different videos, but I'm trying to keep it as basic as possible, keeping in mind that you might be a rookie or someone who's just starting out in the sport and is just trying to wonder how you can become more efficient holding these focus mitts for your training partners. So the last piece of advice that I would have is always stay relaxed and have that groove and eventually timing and rhythm with your training partners. So for example, eventually, I don't have to tell Alex that I'm going to have a jab called out. I don't need to tell him right uppercut. He should be seeing the signals coming out of my focus mitts, knowing that that's the punch that needs to be fired out on cue. Okay, so when you hold the pads, you don't want to be static as a robot and going like this, because that would just simply be a moving heavy bag. What I need to do is force Alex to react to which punch he needs to shoot, okay? So I'll always close my focus mitts like this to my chest. That'll show him that the mitts are closed, all right? Not to be confused that when I call out a left to the body, it'll be here. All right, so we talked about that previously. If I do a small session with Alex, my mitts are closed, and then I'll just signal the cue. And Alex already knows which punch I'm calling out. Okay, and eventually you can get crafty and start to do some combinations like jab, cross, hook, uppercut, hook, cross, and opposite side. And then you add some movement and rhythm, so jab and slip, and then he comes back, and cross and slip, and then opposite side, okay, and so on and so forth. Maybe we'll make a more advanced videos on highly effective punching combinations in the future. But for now, guys, we'll keep it simple and making sure you guys learn how to properly hold the focus mitts. Because no one wants to train with someone who doesn't know how to hold the pads, because they have to stop every 5 to 10 seconds just to teach them how to hold the pads, okay? So this video will hopefully help you guys, give you some great pointers on how to hold the focus mitts, and you'll be able to adapt all these new techniques into your next workout. All right, so thank you so much for watching our video, guys. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. Please leave us a big thumbs up as a like, and we'll continue producing more videos such as these. And we'll see you guys
in the next video.
Hi everyone, Danny here. So I'm accompanied by none other than the great Alex the Prodigy once again. And today we're going to teach you guys how to properly hold these things, the focus mitts. Now I'm not going to go into the particular brands or the quality of them. Maybe that's going to be for a future video. But today is going to be a basic video on how to properly hold the mitts for your training partners. Ready, Alex?
Yes.
Let's get going. So the first thing I'd like to talk about is teach you guys how to properly hold the focus mitts for your training partners. And we're going to start with one of the most common mistakes that I see very frequently is people hold the mitts way too wide, such as this, okay? So they'll call for a jab and a cross, and they'll start holding their mitts in this fashion, okay? And that's the wrong way of holding the pads for your partner. So if I start and I hold the pads such as this, and Alex goes left on this side and then right on that side, that kind of be like if Alex was fighting two persons, okay? And that's the wrong way of doing that. So what we want to do is always make sure that our pads are closer to each other. All right, always in this fashion, so left and right, and not like this, okay? So if I hold for Alex, the jab will be here, and then cross on this side, all right? So one more time, 1, 2, perfect, okay?